Okay, so welcome everybody. Today I'm going to be taking apart this front axle and basically rebuilding it so that I can swap it into that axle right there. It's the exact same. That axle's leaking, got a whole bunch of problems with it. So instead of leaving my truck on jack stands, I'm basically just going to rebuild this, take it down to the shop, have them just swap it in real quick. It won't be that long. So essentially, the way you want to rebuild these axles is that, or start taking them apart, you take apart the hub assembly, which is the, what is it, 6 bolts right here. And, and then you have the 6 nuts that go around this side that have basically the cone washers with them. So once you remove and unscrew all these nuts right here, unscrew them up until they hit the very top of these studs. And then hit on them with a brass drift and a hammer. And what that'll do is it'll unseat the cone washers that are in there. They're all the parts are in here, so sorry, I don't have anything to show you, but there are cone washers. And so to unseat those, you have to hit them with a brass drift. And you'll see that they unseat themselves. They just kind of bump up. And then you just use a little pick or some kind of tweezers, or pliers to pull them out. And then before the hub assembly comes off, there is a snap ring that goes right in there. And you can use snap ring pliers. I used these big giant pliers to get it back in, or get it off. But once the snap ring's off, this whole entire assembly comes off. And that leaves us to where we're at right now. Obviously, this still has the felt, or the gasket that was supposed to come on it stock on it. Doesn't look like it's in that bad of a shape. I'm actually impressed, because this is acquired from a friend of mine. So, yeah, that gasket's got to come off. And then the next step right now is that you take this spindle nut off. And usually, you can see right now that this one is not to standard specifications, which means that if you see that there's a tab back here with these little tabs, and what you're supposed to do is that when you put this spindle nut on, you're supposed to pound one of these tabs down to where it folds over one of these. See? You can see how I can just spin it. No, it's supposed to be tightened, and then this is supposed to be pounded down and folded over. So obviously whoever rebuilt this or didn't, this is just all set to be, it's not messed with. So yeah, that's why you would have this piece. You pound it down over these lips so that it doesn't move. So you just take the spindle nut off, and that will pretty much complete the disassembly of this little hub right here. You have this thing. This is what. Oh, my apologies. This thing bends over this one, not over this one. So you have 2 spindle nuts. This was supposed to be bent over that one, so that it does not move or unseat itself. And then you just tighten this one in. So that way, at least if this one unseats itself, this one doesn't. And the preload on the bearings is set. So these all have a set preload on their bearings. From what I understand, the set preload would be you put this on, and then you, it's kind of sad, they tell you to assemble the entire thing and then spin the wheel and whatnot, and if it drags, it'll kind of like the back brakes, it drags slightly. That's perfect. Otherwise, if it's too much to turn, you have too much preload on this bearing, and to lighten it back up. So I'm not sure how, I can't say how to do that without taking it all apart and everything like that, but that's the specifications to which they say it. So as of right now, I won't be doing that because it's not attached to the car. So yeah, that you take this spindle nut off, and essentially the bearing comes out. It's right behind it, and I think the whole entire hub assembly comes off once it's unbolted in the back. So you have your second spindle nut, the inner one, outer and inner. I'm not sure if there's a size difference. It seems to look like they are almost the exact same size, so I guess not. And then I don't know. Oh, I guess, yeah, never mind. So I guess that's how you get the knuckle off. And you get to the knuckle. You have that spacer, and obviously you'll see that somewhere on the outer edge right here, it has a little indent, and that's how you know it's kept to it. So the hub comes off as one. Let me just put it down. Just take this off, and it has the bearing that comes out right there. It's your, I guess you'd say your outer bearing. This would be your outer bearing. And then you have your inner bearing on the inside. So you have this. This is your burr field inside here. All this just comes off. So that's how you disassemble this part, and I'll get back to you a little bit more in depth. Okay, so after the whole hub assembly came off, you had these bolts right here that basically remove the dustpan from the axle. As of right now, it's actually just sitting on the dustpan. It'll come off. This removes, and then you have the dustpan. On the set that I'm going to replace this with, it'll have the dustpan eliminator, so that it doesn't have to, I don't have to worry about this getting rocks up inside of it. I'm going to do the other side once I pull the burr field joint out. Once the burr field joint will come out. Once this dustpan's removed, I remove these. Well, actually, I honestly don't have to remove these bolts. Just because they're removed right now doesn't mean that I will. I know that I have to remove this so that it separates the drag link from the knuckle. And then once that drag link's separated from the knuckle, I can remove essentially the knuckle. Once these bolts come out first before you are able to remove the knuckle. You want to remove these bolts with the that dust shield that goes right there and all the gaskets that go inside of it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And then this assembly should just come off. This assembly should just come off right now, but the knuckle will be able to come completely off after that. So, okay, so once those 8 bolts come off, then what you have is not only does the dust cover come off, but the coupler to the drive shaft and the solid axle, or the locking hubs, that's what comes off as well. So I'm not sure if you were supposed to have a gasket that was supposed to go here. It does not seem like it's on this part. Let's see if it's on the on the adapter plate itself. Nope. You can tell that this one did not come. Somebody did not put on the gasket, because I'm almost positive it does come with one. But that takes off that part. Now what I'm going to do next is remove these bolts with those cone washers, and then this whole tire, once this is removed from the knuckle assembly, this whole entire knuckle should just come off. And that's, well, before that you have the I think it's 10 bolts that are back there, whatever it is. You have all those bolts, and then once that's done with, the knuckle should come off. So I'm going to do these, and then I'm going to do those, and then once that's done, the knuckle will come off, and you essentially have your housing and the burr field. So yeah, I'll get back to you. Okay, the knuckle was a little bit of a pain in the butt to get off. One of the bearings, well, I guess both of the bearings came out. I mean, obviously you have the bearings inside here, but then you're supposedly supposed to have bearings inside there. Maybe? Nope, never mind. One of my bearings came out. Yeah, it's supposed to rotate on these bearings. One of my bearings ended up coming out, because I was wondering if there was like more than one. Where did it go? It's somewhere around here. But anyway, oh, here it is. There we go. I took off the bottom billet, or bottom, piece that preloads the bearing, and yeah. So you have your felt pieces, you have your shims for your preloads. I kind of bent this piece, this half metal piece, or whatever, the split piece. Yeah, I bent that. Hopefully that comes with the new kit. Yeah, as of right now, basically, to get the axle out, once you've gotten to this point and you got your knuckle off, once you get to this point, you're going to want to line these flat pieces up with the bottom and top right here. So you basically take this, line it up, boom, axle shaft comes right out. And That shows me that there is no warpage or damage to this unit, so I can easily put a new axle shaft back in. Obviously, there's the two pieces. You have your axle shaft and your Burfield joint. To separate these two, I will link Analog 56X's video to where I learned all of this, and I suggest you watch his video. It's very he's a very knowledgeable guy, believe me, a great guy. So definitely watch his videos. He's got a lot of Toyota stuff, as well as Cummins and Dodge and Chevy stuff as well. A lot of stuff, but if you want to, definitely a lot of stuff on Cummins motors and Toyota stuff. So that's where I learned this. I'll link it below. But yeah, this has been the removal of one side. Obviously, I guess you pound that bearing out. Usually there are races. I would think that there is a race somewhere in there that goes in first. So yeah, I'm almost positive there's probably a race in there. It's just too greasy. Let's see. You know what? Let's see. Yep, that's what it looks like. You have your bearing. See? Well, I guess that was really easy. Your bearing sits in its race. You know what? Maybe there's not in this one. Honestly, I don't know. Because maybe later model axles are different. You know what? Maybe there is. It looks like that might actually be a race. I'm not sure. It looks like it might be. So, yeah. Whenever you have a bearing, you usually have a race. I wouldn't doubt that that's a race right here. So what you do is you pound this race out and then pound a new one back in, and then that's the way it is. You now have experienced and witnessed the disassembly of a Toyota solid axle in the vehicle. So that's what you do. And yeah, now I'm going to disassemble the other side, and I will be completely done with this thing on disassembly, and I can take it down to the shop and have the shop assemble it, because in all honesty, I just don't have the time. I'm just going to buy the parts, just take this stuff down to him, and then have him just reassemble the axle completely. And yeah, that'll be it. And so, hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, so, you know, I got the driver's side, passenger side. Everything's pretty much disassembled. I'm going to have the shop that I'm going to take this to clean them, because I'd much rather have them put together everything with the exact preload on the bearings and whatnot. That way I don't have to disassemble everything, redo it, whatnot. Just let the shop do it. Just figured this would cut down the price a lot, because I'll give them the parts, give them all the stuff, just have them assemble it. So yeah, it didn't take me too long. I was able to do it in both sides in probably about 2.5 hours. That was actually quite a long time. It should have taken me less time. But the disassembly, or that was the disassembly of a Toyota solid